5 days ago, I put out a video talking about missing 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers, and you guys went nuts in the comments, so we got to do a follow-up and talk about some of the things that I read. Before we get started with today's video, let me tell you about today's sponsor, the Hero Soap Company. Now, I'm a veteran, and I like soap. I like smelling good, so I thought it was a no-brainer to work with this company. They decided to send me a few of their bars of soap, and I gotta be honest with you, this stuff smells pretty darn cool. They have a ton of unique smells, like this one, for instance, honey bourbon. Smells pretty good. And the other one I got, Timberline. Now these are the two that I got, and I think they smell great. I think you guys will like them too. This company is all about helping the military and helping veterans, and if you support them, you're essentially supporting all the veterans out there who are hurting right now. So if you guys want to help me out, go to the link in the description down below, buy yourself some soap. Every soap you buy puts a little bit of money in my pocket, and that is more money that I get to spend on searching for missing people and helping families. Sebastian Rogers. We have been covering him quite a bit here recently on the channel, and for good reason. He is a 15-year-old teenager who up and vanished out of thin air in his home. And if you don't know the story, the gist of it is he went to bed, his mom put him to bed, and mom heard a noise, told him to keep it down. He responded, and that was it. Everybody went to bed. The next morning, mom goes up and checks on him. He is nowhere to be found, and he has been missing since. Not a trace of him has even been discovered. Now, with that being said, everybody who's been following this story has a pretty basic idea of who they think is responsible for his disappearance. And this is going to be my opinion, and obviously this is all alleged, and I'm not throwing any names out there because that's not what I'm about. What I want to do is bring focus on the missing, and that is exactly what we're doing here today. So 5 days ago, I did a video talking about Sebastian, and Sebastian is autistic, and there were a lot of people who had things to say about that. And I wanted to share some of the comments with you because like I said in my previous video, I am not a professional at any of this stuff. I don't know anything about autism. I don't know anybody who has autism. All I know about autism is what I read on the internet. What I do know about autism is that there are a lot of people out there with autism. They have children with autism, and they're still leading a normal life. Now, there are different levels of autism, and some of that may affect your day-to-day life. Some is severe, some is very minor. And this is something I know nothing about. So there are lots of people in the comments who follow me, like I said, and they have been raising autistic children. They have a family member who's autistic, or they're autistic themselves. So let's go over some of these comments, and then we'll talk about how that affects the way that this story is going. Because the story goes, he woke up in the middle of the night, or at some point after he was supposed to be in bed, and he wandered off. And if you have or know somebody who has autism, that may seem far-fetched. So let me dive into these comments and tell you what I'm talking about. And the first comment is from Barbot5941. And they say, the autistic children I know do best with routine and familiarity. They desire the routine and want to be around it. Him leaving home in the middle of the night without everything that is familiar to him doesn't make any sense to me. So what they're saying here is people who have autism like routine, like familiarity, don't like things to change. For instance, you know, he goes to bed, he puts on his PJs, he brushes his teeth, he watches TV, he listens to music, he reads a book. I'm just saying he has a routine, and he probably likes to stick to it. So for him to like just wake up and vanish, which means they're saying he got up and left his house on his own in the middle of the night. Another comment that came in said that autistics are creatures of habit and routine. It's kind of a crude way of putting it, but you understand. Having raised one myself, I would not expect the boy to leave the house after his bedtime. So there you go. This parent has raised someone with autism, and they have way more experience than I do, and they're essentially saying the same thing. They're not going to get up out of their bed and leave the house. That's, at least with their case, their autistic children, they wouldn't do that. Now, I did, however, read another comment on a different post that read, This is their worst fear, that their child has autism and that he would get up and wander away. Because in her case, her child knows no strangers, will talk to anybody, will everybody is a friend, and that could get their child into trouble because, as we know, not everybody is very friendly. Another comment reads, "My nephew is autistic and he's afraid of the dark and he doesn't go anywhere without mom and dad beside him, and he always takes a cell phone and a handheld game of sorts. Myself, I don't believe he just left the home alone." I think this commenter is thinking what everybody else is thinking, that Sebastian just didn't wake up and decide to go outside and go for a walk. What would make him do that? That doesn't make zero sense, and it seems like there is a pattern with people who have autism, and is they like their routine, and when it's bedtime, it's time to go to bed. Now, this is just what I'm reading. These are 3 people out of about, hundreds of thousands of people out there in the world who deal with autism of some sort. And maybe every case is different, but it seems like more cases than not, a child with autism just won't wake up and leave the house, barefoot if anything, and in his PJs. Now, my last video, I did make some mistakes, and I wanted to address them right now. And one commenter pointed out that, how did the mother and stepfather put Sebastian to bed when the stepfather was working out of town? And then there was a reply, that was never said, this guy said that. My bad. I thought that stepdad and mom were home together, and I didn't find out till later on in diving a little deeper into the story that stepdad was out of town in Memphis. So that puts mom home alone with Sebastian. Common sense would dictate, isn't that suspect number 1? But you know what? I'm just an observer. I really don't know what's going on behind the scenes with this investigation. So different questions did come up, and one question I wanted to talk about was, if Sebastian drowned, wouldn't his body have floated by now? It's a horrible thing to think of when you're thinking about like a body, but let's talk about Riley Strain for a second, the college kid who was in Nashville, and he ended up in the river and he passed away. The police department who was investigating his disappearance was pretty spot on when he was going to be found, because they all suspected he was in the river. And I guess they knew about the time frame that a body would float. Now, given the conditions like water temperature, the weight of the body, is the body tied down, all those variables will affect when a body floats. But typically, the colder the water, the longer it will take for a body to float. Now, when the water starts warming up, the body will start to decompose and bloat, and that's when they float. And like I said, if it's hard to think about when you're talking about a human, let alone a 15-year-old child. But the science behind it is, depending on the water temperature and depending on what's holding the body down, will dictate when the body will float. But on average, it looks like about, 1.5 to 2 weeks. And one last comment that I wanted to share with you is, thank you for sticking to the facts and staying away from some YouTube creators that are pushing hate and spreading terrible rumors. At the end of the day, I'm not here to push lies and misinformation. I don't want to be known as the guy who's spreading misinformation to get views. All I want to do is talk about the facts, get the word out that Sebastian is still missing, and keep his story alive. It's been 4 months. There's a very, very good chance Sebastian is still alive, and he's either been snatched up or there's something going on closer to the family that we all don't know about. Now, this is a national case. Nancy Grace has been involved. Lots of people with lots of money is searching for Sebastian. So I'm pretty confident Sebastian's going to be found one way or another. And fingers crossed, we all hope Sebastian comes home alive. But at the end of the day, we don't know. And so we just got to sit and wait. And the people who are searching, we're going to keep on searching. And there has been stories about these YouTube crime investigators and anybody else who's been involved in Sebastian's case getting cease and assists from the family. The stepfather has been sending these out. And does that make sense to anybody? Why would the family not want people looking for Sebastian? That makes no sense. And come to find out, there's a Facebook page that I talked about that's dedicated to searching for Sebastian. And it's closed. You can only be, you have to be accepted into the group. And there's these rules, like I said, that doesn't make any sense. No theories or speculation. No asking about the police. No asking if there's any updates. This is just for Sebastian, to find Sebastian. That all makes no sense to me. I would want everybody involved in searching for my kid. I don't care who you are. If you have a theory, let's talk about it. You know, if you have speculation, if you think somebody's not doing their job correctly, like law enforcement, what's the big deal if you're vocal about it? Nothing gets done when people don't flex their rights and don't flex the fact that they have power and they're allowed to search. You know, everybody searching one way or another for a missing child is that one more pair of eyes that could spot him and bring him home. So the fact that the family, the stepdad specifically, is sending out cease and desist to YouTubers who are talking about the case, that's a pretty big red flag. Why the hell would you not want anybody talking about your missing kid, you know? And as for the authorities, you know, I'm playing devil's advocate. They're doing the best they can. The feds are involved. But I have also heard that the sheriff of this town is buddies with the stepdad, who's sending out the cease and desist. So how does this all wrap around Sebastian going missing? You know, is this... I don't assume all these people are involved in his disappearance. Why would they protect the family if the family had something to do with it? You know, that really doesn't make any sense either. Like, even if I had a best friend that I was in the war with, and, you know, he had his leg blown off to save my life, and I owe him everything, and then I find out that he, for some reason, killed his kid, I'm not going to protect him. That's evil. That's horrible. Now, I'm not saying that's happening. That's just me thinking wild. If the family's being protected by the authorities, why? You know, that makes no sense. And it's just, this story's just getting weirder and weirder as time goes on, longer and longer. And we all know that as time goes on, if Sebastian isn't found, this case is going to start getting less and less and less attention until finally people just stop talking about him and he becomes another name in a book. And that book is big. There's lots of missing kids out there that are never, ever found. So it would be nice to keep these kids' stories alive and keep all these eyes prying and put the pressure on the people who need pressured. Make sense? Most of these videos are just me rambling on and talking about facts about a case and telling you guys how I feel. I wish I could do more to help search for Sebastian, but right now I just don't have anything to bring to the table that many other people have already done. So what I'm doing is I'm using my platform and I'm keeping his story alive. And if something comes up and somebody needs my help searching a pond, searching the river, searching anywhere, all they got to do is reach out and we'll be there. We have no problem helping anybody search for Sebastian. He needs to be found along with every other missing child out there. And as long as the community sticks together, we are all going to make a difference. You and me and everybody else, we have the power. We can actually do things if we just open our eyes and we try really hard to think between the lines. And that's that. I'm glad you guys watched this video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and make sure you go and get yourself some soap from Hero Soap Company. Link will be in the description. We are going to keep on searching for Sebastian until he is found or until we get the answers we need. Leave a comment, tell me how I'm doing, and I will see you guys on the next video.